Michael Jackson is a name that needs no introduction. Considered as one of the greatest pop musicians of all time, Michael made a mark in musical history for his talent, charisma, and enigma. His contributions to the entertainment industry made him the king of pop. Singers and dancers all over the world still copy his iconic dance moves. Who would forget the moonwalk and the robot? Even social media influencers on TikTok and the rest of social media still emulate the moves of the king. Michael's reach is unbeatable. In fact, his name is one of the most mentioned when modern artists are asked about their influences. Bruno Mars in particular seems to be heavily influenced by the late pop icon.
I drink till I'm drunk, smoke till I'm high, castle on the hill.
If you know anything about Jackson, it's that he was part of a group years ago called the Jackson 5. Which consisted of him and his 4 older brothers. They formed in 1964 under the leadership and direction of their father Joe Jackson, and at this time, the king of pop was only 5 years old. We all know that Jackson loved animals and had his own petting zoo. But did you know he had llamas that he would bring with him into the recording studio? Famously, he brought 2 of them, Louis and Lola, with him while recording with Freddie Mercury of Queen in 1993. Mercury was not a big fan of these llamas, and he said that was part of the reason why he never finished his recording with Jackson. If you've seen any Jackson clips or parodies, you've probably heard the word Shamon, which is a word he invented. It's found in the song Bad, and the word is not only an homage to Mavis Staples, a legendary singer of soul, but also it's supposed to be an alternative word for come on. Jackson drew inspiration from a few different actors and musicians, and one of his biggest inspirations was Charlie Chaplin, the well-known silent film star who created the persona dubbed the Tramp. Jackson doesn't just have one figure at Madame Tussauds, he has multiple ones that have been created in his likeness, which exist in multiple museums of Madame Tussauds all over the globe. This should tell you all you need to know about how popular he was and how significant he was to the music culture. It's thanks to Jackson when he was a part of the Jackson 5 and appeared on Soul Train in 1974 that the robot dance became mainstream. He did the robot dance while grooving to the song Dancing Machine and would later use these same dance moves as a solo artist, which all helped the robot dance become a part of pop culture. Some people are not aware that Jackson had a chimpanzee as a pet, which he had with him until the day he died. Bubbles was the name of the chimp and he would often go on tour with him up until 2005. After he died, Bubbles went to live in Florida at a place for apes called Center for Great Apes. Jackson usually followed a strict diet during his tours and other work-related projects, but when he went off his diet or had a cheat day, his favorite was Mexican. That's far different from his usual vegetarian diet during his intense work schedule. Jackson worked with Quincy Jones, a producer, to create Billie Jeans. It seems it was not the easiest song to produce since it took them 91 times specifically to mix the track before the 2 men agreed on the final version. Jackson had a file on him over at the FBI because there were so many attempts to extort and blackmail him for money through the years. Not to mention, he was such a celebrity that a lot of allegations were made in an effort to shake him down.
Before you label or condemn me, don't treat me like a criminal, because I am innocent.
During the 1984 Grammy Awards, Jackson won 8 awards, which was a record breaker for an awards show. This was the 26th annual Grammy Awards, and he took home a winning categories including Record of the Year for Beat It and Album of the Year for Thriller. He also won a Grammy for Billie Jeans for Best Male Vocal R&B Performance category and Best Rock Vocal Performance for Male for the song Beat It. Jackson wanted to stay young looking and live as long as possible, so for many years he slept in a hyperbaric chamber. However, at some point, he would donate his oxygen tank to a hospital out in California so that it could be used to treat people with severe burns. He was one of the first musicians to address both political and social issues in his music, and this helped bring important topics to the mainstream. We probably wouldn't have artists singing about these topics without Jackson paving the way. A lot of people don't know that Jackson was supposed to be in the World Trade Center on 9/11 because he had a meeting in one of the buildings. He ended up oversleeping and never made it to that meeting. During the shoot for a Pepsi commercial in 1984, Jackson's hair caught on fire, which left him with both second-degree and third-degree burns on his head. Pepsi would go on to pay him $1.5 million in damages for his burns. Jackson was known to donate money to worthy causes, so when he got burned in the 1984 Pepsi commercial incident, he wanted to give back to the hospital that had treated him. The $1.5 million that he had received from Pepsi would be given to that hospital, which was Broadman Medical Center. The burn unit at Broadman Medical Center was renamed to Michael Jackson after that. We all know that Jackson could move. But did you know he was never trained or went to school for dancing? All of the dance moves that he performed were self-taught, which makes it even cooler that he pulled off amazing stunts like he did. While we are on the subject of his moves, it was special shoes that allowed Jackson to perform his famous moonwalk. These shoes were designed with slots in them so that they could be clipped onto the stage for him to stay balanced while he performed the moonwalk. Keeping with the theme of the moonwalk, Jackson owned a patent, which was number 5,255,452 from the US Patent Office for the shoes he used in his performances. Without this patent, he may not have been able to pull off the lean as well as he did. However, when he missed a payment on the patent for these shoes in 2005, it was then released so that anyone could design and replicate the moonwalk shoes.
Just look at my face, these tears ain't drying.
Jackson purchased a Cadillac that gave him publishing rights to music in 1995, and in this $47.5 million purchase were more than 200 signs by the Beatles. Paul McCartney had talked to Jackson and was the one who suggested he begin investing in publishing rights, which is a very interesting twist, considering he'd end up owning the rights to the Beatles' music thanks to this idea. It's not a surprise that someone like Jackson would just pay millions of dollars to own something he felt was significant or a part of history. In 1999, he would pay $1.54 million to own David Selznick's Oscar award that he had won for Gone with the Wind. It's not every day that someone gives you an elephant as a thank you present, but that's what happened to Jackson in 1991. He had let Elizabeth Taylor, an actress and his friend, use his property to host her wedding. She was very much appreciative of the ability to use the ranch, so she sent him a living 5,000-pound elephant as a thank you. The elephant was named Gypsy and stayed on his property. More than a decade after Jackson's death, he is still one of the biggest and richest celebrities out there, with his estate having an estimated net worth of about $500 million. Sure, this isn't the $2.1 billion net worth from right after his death, but it still shows how popular and beloved he is given he died in 2009.
We stand together all around the world, joined in a common purpose to remake the planet into a haven of joy.